Before we dive in, a quick note. This video is for informational and educational purposes only. It is not financial, investment, or professional business advice. Always consult with a qualified professional before making any major technology decisions for your organization. You know the feeling. It's 2 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon. You've been in back-to-back meetings since 9, your inbox has 100 new unread emails, and you're staring at a blank PowerPoint presentation that was due an hour ago. You need to find the sales figures from last quarter's report, the final feedback from the marketing team, and the action items from that call you only half listened to yesterday. So you start digging. You're searching through your email, through your Teams chats, through your SharePoint folders, through your OneDrive. You're toggling between 10 different tabs, drowning in what experts call digital debt. You're not doing your actual job. You're doing the work about the work. This isn't just a feeling. It's a quantifiable crisis. Microsoft's own research, their Work Trend Index, found that the average employee spends 57% of their time communicating, in meetings, on email, and chats, and only 43% of their time actually creating. We spend nearly 10 hours a week just searching for information. We are so buried in digital paperwork that we have no time left for the deep thinking, the creativity, the innovation that we were actually hired to do. For decades, technology has promised to make us more productive, but for many of us, it feels like it's done the opposite. It's just given us more places to look for things, more inboxes to manage, and more notifications to ignore. What if you could get that time back? All of it. What if you had an assistant? An incredibly smart, incredibly fast assistant, who had been in every meeting with you, read every email you've ever sent, and seen every document your team has ever created. An assistant who could instantly find those sales figures, summarize that feedback, and pull up those action items in seconds? What if this assistant could then take all that information and create the first draft of that PowerPoint presentation for you? This is the monumental promise of Microsoft Copilot for Microsoft 365, or as we'll be discussing today, its most powerful form, Copilot Enterprise. And right away, let's clear up the confusion because Microsoft has not made this easy. You've heard of Bing Chat, which became Copilot. Then there's Copilot Pro for individuals. And now the one that's making CEOs and CIOs across the country either incredibly excited or incredibly nervous. Copilot for Microsoft 365, the enterprise version. They are not the same thing. Not even close. The free Copilot can tell you the capital of Nebraska. Copilot Enterprise can tell you the capital your Nebraska-based sales team needs for a successful Q4, based on their pipeline, their recent client conversations, and the company's strategic goals for the year. See the difference? This video is your definitive guide to understanding that difference. We are going to cut through the marketing hype and the technical jargon to answer the 3 most important questions you should be asking right now. 1. What is this thing really and how does it actually work? 2. What can it do for you and your team on a practical day-to-day basis inside the apps you already use like Teams, Outlook, Excel, and Word? And 3. The big one, is it worth $30 per user per month on top of your existing Microsoft 365 subscription? We're going to break down the real value, the hidden risks, and whether this is the future of productivity or just the most expensive chatbot ever invented. Because make no mistake, the conversation around artificial intelligence in the workplace has fundamentally changed. This is no longer a futuristic debate about robots taking our jobs. This is a practical, strategic decision that businesses are making right now. This is about a new way of working, and companies that figure out how to leverage these tools will not just be more efficient, they will be more innovative. They will outthink, outcreate, and outperform their competition. This is a productivity arms race, and it has already begun. So what makes Copilot Enterprise so different? Why is it supposedly a generational leap forward from asking Siri to set a timer or telling Alexa to play your favorite song? The answer isn't just about having a better algorithm. It's about context. A consumer chatbot like ChatGPT is like a brilliant intern who has read the entire internet. They can write you a poem, explain quantum physics, or draft a generic marketing email. But they don't know you. They don't know your company, your projects, your team, or what happened in that critical budget meeting this morning. Microsoft Copilot Enterprise is different because it has 2 things that no other AI has access to. First, it has the power of the world's most advanced large language models, like OpenAI's GPT-4. This gives it the ability to understand, reason, and generate human-like text. But that's just the table stakes. The real secret weapon, the ingredient that changes everything, is something Microsoft calls the Microsoft Graph. Don't let the name intimidate you. The concept is actually pretty simple. For years, as you and your company have used Microsoft products, you've been creating a massive invisible web of data. The Microsoft Graph is the map of that web. It knows who you report to. It knows who is on your team. It knows you have a standing one-on-one with your manager every Wednesday at 10. It knows you're working on a document called Project Titan Proposal with Sarah and David. It knows that document is related to the Q3 strategy meeting that happened last week, and it has the transcript from that team's call. It knows the emails you exchanged with the client about that project and the action items that came out of it. It's not just a database of your files. It's a living, breathing index of the relationships, the context, and the activity of your entire organization. It is the connective tissue of your company's collective intelligence. And this is the absolute game changer. When you give a prompt to Copilot Enterprise, it doesn't just send your question to a generic AI model. It performs a complex orchestration. First, it uses the graph to understand the context of your question. Who are you? What team are you on? What files are relevant to your prompt? It pulls in your data, your emails, your chats, your calendar, your documents, from your secure Microsoft 365 environment. It then combines that personalized context with your prompt and sends it to the large language model. The model generates a response, and then Copilot does a final check using the graph again for security, compliance, and accuracy before delivering the answer back to you, right inside the app you're working in. This is why you can ask it a question that seems impossibly complex, like, create a summary of my team's progress on Project Titan, highlight any risks identified in recent emails, and draft a 5-slide presentation for my manager, Sarah. That's due tomorrow. A public chatbot would have no idea what Project Titan is. Copilot knows. It knows the documents, the people, the meetings, the risks. It can do this because the graph provides the grounding, the factual basis from your corporate reality. It turns a general-purpose AI into your personal, all-knowing work assistant. This integration of your private data securely is the core value proposition. It's what Microsoft is betting billions of dollars on. But it also raises 1,000 questions. How secure is it, really? Is my data being used to train the model? What happens when the AI gets it wrong and confidently presents false information in a critical report? What are the privacy implications? And how do you even begin to train an entire workforce to shift their habits from doing the work to directing an AI to do the work? These are the critical, nuanced questions we are going to tackle. We'll go beyond the polished demos and explore the practical realities of deploying this kind of power across an organization. This isn't just a product review. This is a strategic briefing for the new era of work. The promise is clear: to finally solve the productivity paradox, to eliminate the busy work, and to unlock a new level of creativity and innovation. Now, we need to find out if it can actually deliver. To answer that, we have to first understand that Copilot isn't one single thing. It's a brand. An umbrella covering a family of AIs. The version you might have tried in Bing or on your Windows taskbar is the free, public-facing model. Think of it as a brilliant, well-read intern. It knows everything on the public internet, it's eager to help, but it has no idea who you are, what your company does, or what happened in that critical sales meeting last Tuesday. It has no context. Copilot Enterprise is an entirely different species. This isn't an intern. This is a seasoned executive, a chief of staff, and a personal research department all rolled into one, and it has been given a security clearance to access your company's internal network. The difference isn't just about power, it's about context. And that context is everything. The system is built on 3 foundational pillars. The first, and the one most people will interact with daily, is Copilot for Microsoft 365. This is the magic you see embedded directly inside the apps you already use to run your life. Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, and Teams. This isn't a separate chatbot you open in a new window. It lives inside your workflow. Let's start with Word. For decades, the blinking cursor on a blank page has been the universal symbol of creative dread. Copilot changes that. You can feed it a simple prompt like, write a project proposal for a new mobile app targeting millennial investors, using the data from our Q3 market research report. And it doesn't just generate text. It pulls in the specified file, understands its content, and structures a professional proposal complete with an executive summary, market analysis, and proposed timeline. It's not just a writer, it's a synthesizer. It can take a 30-page technical document and instantly distill it into a 5-bullet-point summary for your boss. It can take a rough draft full of notes and transform it into a formal, client-ready document, matching the tone and style of previous successful proposals. The friction between idea and execution starts to dissolve. Then there's Excel, the undisputed champion of powerful but intimidating software. For millions, Excel is a source of anxiety. It's a world of VLOOKUPs, pivot tables, and cryptic formula errors. Copilot turns you into a data analyst, even if you don't know what a pivot table is. You can now just ask it questions in plain English. Analyze the sales data in this sheet. Highlight the top 5 products by revenue growth in the last quarter, and create a bar chart visualizing this trend. No formulas needed. You can ask it to identify any anomalies in the shipping cost column, or forecast sales for the next 6 months based on the last 3 years of data. It's not just automating calculations, it's democratizing data science. It allows anyone to find the story hidden inside the numbers, to ask the what-if questions without spending half a day wrestling with cell references. And of course there's PowerPoint, the tool we love to hate. How many millions of hours have been collectively lost adjusting font sizes, aligning text boxes, and searching for non-cringy stock photos? Copilot acts as your personal graphic designer and presentation coach. You can point it to a Word document and say, "Create a 15-slide presentation based on this business plan." It will generate the entire deck, complete with titles for each slide, summary bullet points, and it will even suggest relevant images. It pulls key quotes, extracts critical data points, and structures a narrative. And if you don't like a slide, you just tell it, "Make this slide more visual," or "Add speaker notes to this slide explaining the financial projections." It's a monumental shift from building presentations to directing them. But where this system really starts to feel like science fiction is in the collaborative apps Outlook and Teams. The modern workday isn't spent on documents. It's spent in communication, drowning in it. Copilot for Outlook is designed to be a life raft. It can summarize a chaotic 50-message long email thread into a single paragraph, telling you what the key issues are and what decisions need to be made. It can help you draft replies, allowing you to choose a tone, make it more formal, make it more concise, thank them for their feedback but politely decline their proposal. It's like having a communications expert whispering in your ear. It helps you achieve the mythical inbox zero, not by just deleting things faster, but by processing information smarter. And then there's Teams, the digital office where so much of modern work happens. This is arguably Copilot's killer app. Imagine you join a critical hour-long meeting 15 minutes late. Instead of derailing the conversation, you can discreetly ask Copilot, "Summarize what I've missed so far." In real time, it gives you a bulleted list of the topics discussed, the key people speaking, and any decisions made. You're caught up instantly. During the meeting, it can act as a neutral third-party observer. You can ask, "What questions are still unresolved in this discussion?" Or "Where does the team seem to disagree on this topic?" After the meeting is over, the real work begins. It generates a full, searchable transcript. It automatically identifies and assigns action items. It creates a comprehensive set of meeting notes, capturing the essence of the conversation far better than any human frantically trying to type and listen at the same time. It promises to end the meeting after the meeting, and the ambiguity of who is supposed to do what next. Now this all sounds like magic, but the second pillar explains how it's possible. The secret ingredient that separates Copilot Enterprise from every other AI is something called the Microsoft Graph. The graph is not a new thing. It's been the connective tissue of the Microsoft ecosystem for years. Think of it as the central nervous system of your organization's data. It maps the relationships between people, content, and activity. It knows you work closely with Sarah from marketing. It knows the project you and Sarah are working on is called Project Phoenix. It knows you just exchanged emails about the budget for that project and that the final proposal is saved in a specific SharePoint folder. When you ask Copilot a question, it doesn't just go to a large language model. It first queries the Microsoft Graph to retrieve your context, your data, your files, your emails, your calendar, your chats. It then combines that specific private context with the vast intelligence of the language model. This is called grounding. It grounds the AI's response in your reality. That's why it can find the latest sales report. It knows what's latest and what's relevant to you. And critically, this all happens inside your company's secure Microsoft 365 tenant. Your data is never used to train the public AI models. Your prompts, your responses, your company's secrets, they stay yours. This is the bedrock of enterprise trust. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Microsoft knows that every business is unique. A generic off-the-shelf AI, no matter how powerful, will never be a perfect fit. That brings us to the third pillar. Copilot Studio. This is the customization engine. This is what turns Copilot from a powerful tool into a true platform. Copilot Studio is a low-code graphical interface that lets companies build their own custom GPTs and connect Copilot to their other systems, Salesforce, Workday, ServiceNow, their own proprietary internal software. This is a game changer. Imagine a customer service department creating a custom Copilot that is connected directly to their Zendesk ticketing system. A new agent can now ask, "What is our standard procedure for handling a product return for a VIP customer?" and get an instant, accurate answer based on the company's actual knowledge base. Or imagine a sales team that connects Copilot to their Salesforce CRM. A salesperson could start their day by asking, "Show me my top 3 priority leads for today, summarize my last interaction with each of them, and draft a follow-up email that references their specific business needs." This is the leap from a horizontal assistant that's good at general tasks to a vertical, specialized expert that understands the unique language, processes, and data of your specific business function. So we have the blueprint, a deeply integrated AI, grounded in your own data, and fully customizable. On paper, it's an unbeatable combination. It's the technical solution to the productivity paradox. But there's a massive difference between a blueprint and a skyscraper. The real question is, what happens when this powerful engine meets the messy, unpredictable reality of human behavior and corporate culture? Because the biggest obstacle to the future of work might not be the technology at all. It's the human element. It's the Monday morning meeting that should have been an email. It's the endless reply-all chain where the original point was lost 3 days ago. It's the turf wars, the information silos, the simple, stubborn fact that people are creatures of habit, even when those habits are costing their company millions. We've all lived this. You get invited to a pre-meeting to prepare for the actual meeting, where you'll decide to schedule a follow-up meeting. This is the corporate labyrinth that technology has been trying, and largely failing, to solve for decades. And into this messy human drama, Microsoft walks in, holding Copilot Enterprise, and says, "We've got this." The promise is intoxicating. Let's take that dreaded Monday meeting. In the Copilot Enterprise utopia, the AI doesn't just join the meeting. It prepares for it better than any human ever could. It scans the project's SharePoint site, reads the last 3 status reports you were supposed to read but didn't, analyzes the team's chat history between the key stakeholders to understand the current friction points, and even cross-references the public LinkedIn profiles of the new clients joining the call to give you a briefing on their background and recent company news. During the meeting, it's not just transcribing, it's understanding. It recognizes action items and assigns them, in real time, to the right people in Microsoft Planner. It identifies key decisions and unresolved questions. And when the meeting ends, before you've even had a chance to close your laptop, a summary doesn't just appear. It's a work of art. It includes the transcript, a high-level overview, a bulleted list of decisions, a table of action items with owners and due dates, and a section titled Open Questions for Follow-up. It can even draft the follow-up email, referencing specific moments in the transcript, and suggest a time for the next check-in based on everyone's calendar availability. This isn't just an assistant, it's a force multiplier. It's the promise of reclaiming the estimated 1/3 of our work week we lose to meetings and administrative black holes. It's the dream of focusing on the creative, strategic work, the work we were actually hired to do. But here's the $10 trillion question that rarely gets asked in the glossy demo videos. What happens when this hyper-intelligent system meets a company that runs on chaos? This brings us to the single biggest, most underestimated threat to the AI revolution in the workplace: the garbage in, garbage out principle. Except now it's on an entirely new scale. We're talking about garbage in, gospel out. Copilot Enterprise is only as good as the data it can access. It's a brilliant chef that can only cook with the ingredients you put in the kitchen. If your company's digital kitchen is a mess, if your most important documents are saved on someone's local desktop with the file name final_report_edits_use_this_docs, if critical project decisions are made in hallway conversations or private WhatsApp chats that the AI can't see, if your teams are using 3 different project management tools and none of them are synced, then Copilot can't perform miracles. It will try. It will diligently search your digital mess and present its findings with all the confidence and authority of a perfectly structured report. But the report will be based on incomplete, outdated, or just plain wrong information. It will summarize a project's status based on a document from 6 months ago, because it was the last one uploaded to the official server. It will create an action plan that misses the critical context from a decision made over lunch. The AI's output will look correct. It will be grammatically perfect and beautifully formatted. But it will be subtly, dangerously wrong. It's not just failing to help. It's actively creating a more polished, believable version of your own dysfunction. And this is where corporate culture becomes the deciding factor. Imagine two companies. Let's call them Acme Corporate and Apex Industries. Both are the same size in the same industry. Both decide to roll out Copilot Enterprise. Acme Corp's leadership is focused on the tech. They buy a license for every employee, send out a company-wide memo with a link to a training video, and expect productivity to soar. But nothing changes. Why? Because at Acme, the culture is one of information hoarding. The sales team keeps their best leads in a private spreadsheet, terrified the marketing team will mess them up. The engineering department documents their code in a cryptic, jargon-filled wiki that no one outside their team can understand. Managers insist on delivering critical feedback verbally, with no paper trail. For the employees at Acme, Copilot becomes a novelty. They use it to rephrase emails or to make their PowerPoint slides look a little nicer. But they can't use it for its real power, because the company's most valuable data is invisible to it. The system is starved of quality information. It's a Ferrari, but they're trying to run it on mud and water. Within 6 months, executives are complaining about the return on investment, and employees see it as just another piece of bloated software to ignore. Now let's look at Apex Industries. Their leadership understands that Copilot isn't a tech rollout. It's a cultural transformation. Before they even buy a single license, they launch an initiative called Digital Clarity. They standardize how and where documents are saved. They create clear guidelines for what constitutes a source of truth for project data. They move all project communications into official Teams channels. It's painful. It's tedious. It requires changing habits that have been ingrained for years. Then, and only then, do they introduce Copilot Enterprise. But they don't just send an email. They create a Copilot Champions program, training key people in each department to become the go-to experts. They run workshops focused not on the features but on the workflows. How can the sales team use Copilot to prepare for client calls? How can the finance team use it to analyze quarterly reports? They treat it like learning a new language, the language of truly efficient, data-driven work. At Apex, Copilot thrives. It has access to clean, organized, centralized data. Can see the whole picture. When it summarizes a project status, it's pulling from the right documents, the right conversations, the right data sources. It becomes the central nervous system of the company. Employees aren't just saving time. They're making smarter, faster decisions because they, and their AI partner, are working from a shared reality. The return on investment isn't just a line item. It's a fundamental shift in their competitive advantage. The story of these two companies reveals the stark truth. Copilot Enterprise isn't a magic wand that fixes a broken culture. It's a mirror. It reflects the state of your organization with brutal honesty. If your company is built on a foundation of collaboration, transparency, and good digital hygiene, Copilot will amplify those strengths to an incredible degree. But if your company is siloed, disorganized, and chaotic, it will amplify that chaos, creating a beautifully articulate but fundamentally flawed echo chamber. The technology itself is ready. The algorithms are powerful, the integration is deep. The real bottleneck is us. It's our willingness to do the hard, unglamorous work of cleaning up our own digital house before we invite the super-intelligent robot inside to organize it for us. So let's assume you're Apex Industries. You've done the hard work. You've cleaned up your data, you've aligned your culture, you've trained your people. You have created the perfect environment for this powerful AI to thrive. You've essentially handed it the keys to your entire kingdom. Every document, every email, every chat, every strategy meeting. All of your company's collective knowledge, its crown jewels, are now instantly accessible and indexable by a single intelligence. And now you have to ask yourself a terrifying new question. What happens when it unlocks the wrong door? The wrong door isn't a firewall being breached by a foreign agent. It's not a sophisticated zero-day exploit. The most dangerous door Copilot can unlock is one that was already left wide open, right in the middle of your own house. It's the door an employee with perfectly valid credentials opens when they ask an innocent question. Let me explain. Microsoft's #1 defense, their core marketing message around security, is this: Copilot only has access to the data that the user prompting it already has access to. It fully respects all of your existing Microsoft 365 permissions. On the surface, that sounds perfect. It sounds safe. In reality, for the vast majority of companies, that is the single most terrifying sentence in enterprise technology today. Because what Microsoft is really saying is, we've built the world's most powerful information discovery engine and connected it directly to your company's decades-old, tangled, unaudited, chaotic mess of file permissions. Think about how permissions actually work in the real world. A new employee, let's call her Sarah, joins the marketing team. She gets added to the marketing team group in Active Directory. Great. Now she has access to the main marketing SharePoint site. But then she needs to help out on a specific project, Project Phoenix. So an IT admin gives her direct access to the Project Phoenix folder. The project ends. Does anyone remember to revoke her access? Almost never. A few months later, a senior manager is on vacation, and Sarah needs to access a financial report he created. The manager's boss, in a hurry, just goes to the top-level finance reports folder and clicks share, adding Sarah directly with editor permissions so she can get her work done. The vacation ends. Is that permission ever removed? You already know the answer. Now multiply this by a decade. Multiply it by 10,000 employees. This is a phenomenon known as permission creep or privilege creep. Over time, employees accumulate a vast collection of access rights to files, folders, sites, and teams they no longer need, and in many cases never should have had in the first place. It's a silent, invisible vulnerability that has been metastasizing on company servers for years. Most companies have no real-time map of who can access what. It's a digital Gordian knot. And now, Microsoft has handed every employee a sword called Copilot, capable of slicing through that knot in a fraction of a second. Before Copilot, this mess was a problem, but it was a manageable one. An employee would have to know where to look. They'd have to stumble upon that old, mispermissioned folder for Project Phoenix, and then manually open the files inside to find something sensitive. The sheer volume of data created a form of security through obscurity. It was like trying to find a single incriminating sentence hidden in the Library of Congress. Copilot changes the game completely. The user no longer needs to know where to look. They just need to ask. Let's run a scenario. An enthusiastic, newly hired sales associate wants to get up to speed. He sits down at his desk and types a simple, well-intentioned prompt into Copilot. Summarize the key engineering challenges and customer complaints for our flagship product from the last year. He's just trying to do his job, to understand the product better so he can sell it more effectively. Copilot, being the hyper-efficient assistant that it is, gets to work. It scans every document this new sales associate has access to. And because of permission creep, he has leftover access to an old engineering team's channel. A channel he was added to temporarily 3 years ago at a previous job within the company, and was never removed from. In that channel, Copilot finds and analyzes everything. Heated internal debates between senior engineers about a known, unfixable hardware flaw. A thread where the quality assurance lead warns that the product is failing under certain conditions. A confidential report detailing the high cost of warranty repairs. Within seconds, Copilot synthesizes all of this into a neat, bullet-pointed summary and presents it to the new sales associate. Key engineering challenges. 1. Persistent overheating issues in the primary CPU. Currently no viable fix. 2. High rate of return due to faulty power connectors. 3. Customer complaints frequently cite unexpected system crashes, linked to a known memory leak in the firmware. This sales associate, who should only have access to polished marketing materials and official sales playbooks, is now holding a document that contains the company's deepest, darkest product secrets. What happens when he's on a call with a potential multi-million-dollar client, and the client asks, "So, are there any known issues I should be aware of?" His innocent prompt just armed him with enough information to accidentally sink the entire deal. Let's try another one. An HR business partner is preparing for annual reviews. She asks Copilot, "Show me all manager feedback and salary discussions related to the marketing department for the last 2 years." Her intention is to understand performance trends. But a year ago, a senior marketing director accidentally saved a spreadsheet in a shared Teams folder with the default, overly permissive settings. The file is called marketing_restructure_draft_3. Inside this spreadsheet is not just official performance data, but a confidential plan for a future layoff, including a list of specific employees at risk, their current salaries, and proposed severance packages. Because the HR partner was part of that broad Teams group, she technically has permission to view that file. She would never have found it on her own. It's buried 5 folders deep, but Copilot finds it instantly. It extracts the data and includes it in its summary. In a draft restructuring plan from last year, John Doe was identified as underperforming, with a proposed severance of $45,000. The damage is incalculable. You've just had an internal data breach of the most sensitive information imaginable, not because of a hacker, but because of a helpful AI and a forgotten permission setting from a year ago. This is the fundamental, terrifying truth of Copilot Enterprise. It doesn't break your security model. It exposes how broken your security model already was. It is a giant, high-powered searchlight that you are shining into every dark, dusty corner of your organization's data. And you will be forced to confront what's been hiding there all along. The problem is that for 20 years, the solution to collaboration has been to share more. Can't access this? Here, I'll just add the Everyone group. Need this file? I'll just put it in the public Teams channel. We've been prioritizing convenience over security for decades, and the technical debt we've accumulated is staggering. Microsoft is selling a Formula One race car to companies that have spent years duct taping their family sedan. They're handing you the keys and saying, "Don't worry, it obeys all the traffic laws." That's true, but they're not mentioning that your roads are filled with potholes, your bridges are crumbling, and none of your traffic lights work. So when people talk about the risks of AI, they often imagine a rogue intelligence, a Skynet scenario. But the immediate, tangible risk of Copilot Enterprise is far more mundane and far more likely. It's the risk of accidental, instantaneous, and catastrophic self-inflicted wounds. It's a tool designed to connect the dots. And it will do exactly that, connecting your most junior employee to your most sensitive M&A document if a single, invisible permission link exists between them. The great irony is that the true cost of implementing Copilot Enterprise might have nothing to do with the $30 per month price tag. The true cost is the massive, painstaking, and expensive effort required to clean up 2 decades of digital mess before you can even think about letting this thing off the leash. Which brings us to the billion-dollar question. If this problem is so pervasive and so dangerous, is it even solvable? Or have we built digital empires so complex that we can no longer control the keys to our own kingdoms? The answer for the longest time was a terrifying no. For decades, we've been applying analog solutions to a digital pandemic. The problem of data sprawl, of this chaotic oversharing, wasn't a bug. It was a feature of how we worked. We built tools for collaboration, for speed, for breaking down silos. We encouraged people to share, to create team sites, to spin up new channels. We celebrated the free flow of information because it fueled innovation. But we never built the plumbing to control the flood. The result was a quiet, creeping catastrophe that every chief information officer of every Fortune 500 company knew was their own personal nightmare. They called it permissions hygiene or data governance. But what it really meant was trying to figure out who had the keys to which rooms in a mansion that was adding 1,000 new rooms every single day, all while the blueprints were on fire. The old way of fighting this was brutal and ineffective. Companies would hire legions of IT administrators and expensive consultants from firms like Deloitte or Accenture. Their job was to perform a digital audit, a process so mind-numbingly manual it felt like something out of the dark ages. They would run scripts that would crawl through servers, generating spreadsheets with millions of rows. Each row represented a single file and a single user's permission level. Read, write, edit, full control. Imagine trying to make sense of that. It was like trying to map the DNA of a living organism by taking a single snapshot. By the time you finished your analysis, the organism had already changed. New files were created, employees had switched departments, projects had been completed, and the permissions you so painstakingly documented were already obsolete. It was a Sisyphean task. You'd spend 6 months and $2 million to clean up the permissions on a single server, only to have it devolve back into chaos within weeks. The tools were clunky, the process was a money pit, and the problem was only getting worse, growing exponentially with every email sent, every file uploaded to the cloud. This was the intractable problem Microsoft was facing. They had sold the world this vision of a collaborative, interconnected digital workspace with Microsoft 365. But under the hood, they knew their customers were drowning. And they knew with the dawn of generative AI that this quiet nightmare was about to become a full-blown public crisis. Because an AI like Copilot, connected to this tangled mess, wouldn't just be a helpful assistant. It would be the world's most efficient corporate spy, capable of finding every sensitive document you forgot you had access to, in seconds. Microsoft realized they couldn't solve this with a bigger army of IT administrators or a slightly faster auditing tool. The very premise was flawed. The problem wasn't just about restricting access. It was about understanding it. You can't secure what you don't understand. And humans, with their spreadsheets and manual checks, could never operate at the scale and speed required to understand the living, breathing data ecosystem of a modern enterprise. They needed a new kind of intelligence, a system that didn't just see files and folders, but understood the invisible threads connecting them. A system that knew the difference between a CEO's draft of a layoff announcement and the cafeteria menu for Tuesday. And so, for years largely invisible to the outside world, they started building it. They called it the Microsoft Graph. Don't let the simple name fool you. The graph isn't just a product. It's a fundamental re-architecture of how Microsoft's entire cloud operates. Think of it as the central nervous system of your organization's digital life. It's a vast, interconnected map that tracks the relationships between everything and everyone. It knows that you report to Sarah. It knows you work frequently with James in finance on the quarterly budget. It knows that the three of you are part of a Teams channel called Q3 Financials, where you share Excel files stored in a specific SharePoint site. It sees the calendar invites, the email chains, the document versions, the meeting transcripts. It doesn't just see data. It sees activity. It sees context. Sees work actually happening. For years, the graph was a powerful but largely passive tool, used by developers to build integrations. But with the rise of large language models, Microsoft saw its true potential. What if they could build a brain on top of this nervous system? A brain that could not only map these relationships but understand their meaning? This is where the second piece of the puzzle comes in. The semantic index for Copilot. If the graph is the nervous system, the semantic index is the cerebrum. It's an incredibly sophisticated layer of intelligence that sits on top of the graph and all your company data. It reads everything. Not just the words in the documents, but the metadata, the context, the relationships provided by the graph. It learns your company's internal language. It learns that Project Everest is the internal code name for the upcoming product launch. It learns that headcount adjustment is corporate jargon for layoffs. It learns that documents created by the legal department containing the phrase pending litigation are exponentially more sensitive than a marketing blog post. It's called a semantic index because it understands semantics, the underlying meaning and intent, not just keywords. Your old desktop search could find a document with the word salary in it. The semantic index understands that a file named exec_comp_review_Q4_draft@docs, located in the CFO's private OneDrive folder, last modified by the CEO, is a document you absolutely, under no circumstances, should have access to, even if you're searching for your own salary information. This is the profound shift that almost everyone misses about Copilot Enterprise. Copilot isn't just a clever chatbot with a search bar. It is the first mainstream interface for this incredibly powerful, pre-existing intelligence engine. When you ask Copilot a question, it doesn't just do a dumb keyword search across every file you have access to. That would be catastrophic. Instead, your query goes through a multi-stage process of grounding and security trimming that is almost instantaneous. Copilot first consults the graph and the semantic index. It asks, who is this user? What is their role? Who do they work with? What is the actual semantic meaning of their query? And based on that deep, contextual understanding, it retrieves only the precise pieces of information it knows the user has explicit permission to see. This is Microsoft's audacious solution to the billion-dollar question. They are not trying to manually clean up the messy mansion. They've decided to build a godlike AI concierge that knows the purpose of every room, the identity of every guest, and holds a unique set of keys for every single person. The very technology that threatened to expose the chaos is the only technology powerful enough to finally bring it under control. They've turned the company's biggest liability, that tangled mess of data, into the very foundation of its new AI-powered future. The implications are staggering. This isn't just about preventing leaks. It's about creating a system so intelligent, so aware of its own data, that it can finally deliver on the decades-old promise of knowledge management. But it also creates a system of unprecedented surveillance, a system that knows more about how your company truly operates than any human ever could, a system that watches and learns from every single click. And that raises a whole new set of questions. What happens when this all-seeing, all-knowing intelligence gets something wrong? And who exactly is in control of what it chooses to see? Let's start with a simple, terrifying scenario. Imagine you're a senior engineer at an aerospace company. Copilot is drafting a critical specification document for a new engine turbine. It pulls data from hundreds of previous designs, test results, and material science papers stored across your company's SharePoint. It generates a perfectly formatted, highly detailed, and incredibly convincing document. It even flags a specific alloy for a key component, citing its high performance in past simulations. You, the human in the loop, review it. It looks good. It looks better than good. It's more thorough than anything you could have written in a week. You approve it. The problem is the AI made a mistake. A subtle one. It misinterpreted the context of one of those simulations. The simulation it referenced was for performance at sea level. But this new engine is designed for high-altitude flight, where the temperature and pressure are drastically different. The alloy it recommended becomes brittle under those conditions. It's a catastrophic failure waiting to happen. This isn't just a fantasy. It's the core anxiety of the AI revolution, a phenomenon known as hallucination. AI doesn't know things like we do. It predicts the next most likely word, based on patterns in the data it was trained on. And sometimes its predictions are brilliantly, confidently, and completely wrong. Microsoft's answer to this is simple. The human is always in control. Copilot is a co-pilot, not the pilot. You have the final say. But this argument ignores a fundamental truth about human psychology. We are creatures of convenience. We are built to find cognitive shortcuts. Think about the last time your GPS told you to turn down a street that was clearly a dead end. How many of us have hesitated thinking, well, maybe it knows something I don't? We trust the machine even when our own eyes tell us not to. Now multiply that effect by 1,000. Copilot isn't a simple GPS. It's an intelligence that has read every email you've ever sent, every document you've ever written. It speaks with the authority of your entire organization's collective knowledge. When it presents you with a report, it's not just a suggestion, it feels like a conclusion, a finished product. The more we use it, the more we will trust it. The human in the loop becomes a human in the rut, a rubber stamp for an AI whose reasoning is hidden inside a black box. Our critical thinking muscles will atrophy. We'll stop asking why the AI chose that alloy and just accept that it did. The final line of defense against a catastrophic error isn't a person. It's a person's dwindling attention span. This brings us to that second, more insidious question. Who controls what the AI chooses to see? Copilot's power comes from being grounded in your company's data. The Microsoft Graph. This is its universe. Your emails, your Teams chats, your Word docs, your Excel sheets. This is what prevents it from just making things up. But it also creates a massive systemic blind spot. Your company doesn't exist solely within the Microsoft ecosystem. What about the critical sales data in Salesforce? The customer support tickets in Zendesk? The project management updates in Jira? The informal brainstorming happening in a company Slack channel? To Copilot, none of that exists. It's building a detailed, intricate, and fundamentally incomplete picture of your reality. Let's go back to our fictional company, Innovate Corporation. The leadership team asks Copilot to analyze their product portfolio and recommend which product line they should sunset to cut costs. Copilot gets to work. It scans every financial report in Excel, every project plan in SharePoint, and every internal email conversation about sales performance. It comes back with a definitive, data-backed answer. Shut down Project Atlas. The AI generates a beautiful presentation showing declining internal chatter about the project, fewer support documents being created for it, and lower revenue figures compared to other products in the last quarter spreadsheets. It all makes perfect sense. The CEO, presented with this overwhelming evidence, signs off. They shut down Project Atlas. What the AI didn't see, what it couldn't see, was the new multi-million-dollar partnership for Project Atlas being finalized by the sales team entirely within Salesforce. It couldn't see the flood of glowing customer reviews on third-party sites. It couldn't see the engineering team's frantic, excited collaboration in a dedicated Slack channel, solving a key problem that was about to make Project Atlas 10 times more valuable. The AI wasn't lying. It was telling the truth based on the limited world it was shown. It presented a skewed reality with such confidence that the humans in charge didn't bother to look outside the box. They trusted the mirror, not realizing it was only reflecting one corner of the room. They didn't just cut a product, they amputated their own future growth, guided by a well-meaning but half-blind oracle. The control isn't just about what data goes in, it's about how that data is interpreted. And this is where it gets personal. Let's talk about people. An executive could ask Copilot, analyze communications and meeting data to identify employees who are disengaged or at risk of leaving. On the surface, this sounds like a powerful tool for retention. Copilot could scan Teams chats, Outlook calendars, and shared documents. It might identify an employee who sends fewer messages, declines more meetings, and contributes less to collaborative documents. It flags them as disengaged. But the AI has no concept of human context. Maybe that employee is a brilliant deep work programmer who intentionally avoids meetings to stay focused. Maybe they're a single parent who has to block off their calendar for school pickups. Maybe they're an introvert who communicates more effectively in person than over chat. The AI, trained on a dataset that likely defines engagement through metrics of hyperconnectivity, could create an automated system for punishing your most effective, focused, and diverse employees. It becomes a tool for enforcing a single narrow definition of what a good employee looks like, penalizing anyone who doesn't fit the mold. It's a bias laundering machine, taking subjective human prejudices and giving them the objective, unimpeachable sheen of data. This is all made possible by that engine we mentioned earlier, the semantic index for Copilot. This isn't just a search tool. It's creating a conceptual map of your entire company. It doesn't just know what's in a document. It knows who wrote it, who read it, who is considered an expert on that topic, and what other topics that person is an expert on. It's building an invisible algorithmic layer of influence and authority on top of your formal org chart. It knows who the real leaders are, not just the ones with the fancy titles. This is immensely powerful, but it's also creating a single source of truth about your entire organization's knowledge, culture, and power dynamics. And that source of truth is being written in code, based on a limited dataset, by an intelligence that cannot understand nuance, intent, or the human heart. It's solidifying your company's existing biases, blind spots, and information silos into a permanent, operational reality. We've focused on the immense risk of the AI getting things wrong. But as we hand over the keys to our collective intelligence, we have to confront an even more unsettling possibility. What happens when it gets things right? What happens when it analyzes all the data and uncovers truths that the organization has been trying to ignore? When it proves with data that a star executive is a toxic bottleneck, or that a company's flagship strategy is doomed to fail? The AI is a mirror. And for many organizations, looking into it won't just be uncomfortable. It will be an existential crisis. What happens when you don't like what you see in the mirror? For an individual, you might just get a new haircut or resolve to hit the gym. But for a multi-billion-dollar corporation, when that mirror is an AI that has analyzed every scrap of data you produce, the reaction is far more severe. The first instinct isn't self-improvement. It's to shatter the mirror. This gives rise to a new and dangerous corporate pathology: data denialism. It's not just ignoring the numbers on a spreadsheet. It's a full-blown systemic immune response against inconvenient truths unearthed by artificial intelligence. Imagine a company that has, for decades, built its culture around the legend of its charismatic, rain-making sales team. They're the heroes, the ones who bring in the big deals with steak dinners and sheer force of personality. Then Copilot Enterprise is deployed. It analyzes every sales call transcript, every follow-up email, every customer relationship management entry for the past 5 years. And its conclusion is brutal. It finds that the legendary rainmaker, while great at closing initial deals, has the company's worst long-term customer retention rate. His aggressive, promise-anything style leads to churn. Meanwhile, a quiet, methodical salesperson named Susan, who everyone sees as just a consistent performer, has a customer lifetime value that is 3 times higher. The data is unequivocal. What does leadership do? Do they change the entire commission structure, promote Susan, and risk a revolt from the powerful, politically connected sales veterans? Or do they find a reason to discredit the AI? They'll say, the AI doesn't understand the nuance of the relationship, or it's not capturing the human element. They will choose the comfortable lie over the profitable but painful truth. They will attack the mirror. This isn't a hypothetical. This is the human drama that will play out in boardrooms across America. The AI's greatest enemy won't be a competing product. It will be human ego and our deep-seated resistance to change. And this is where the fear really starts to creep in for the average employee. Because that AI mirror doesn't just reflect the company's strategy, it reflects them. Every single day. Copilot Enterprise has access to everything. Every email you write, every sloppy first draft of a document, every private Teams chat where you vent about a project, every meeting you attend, its transcript, your contributions, even how often you speak. This is an unprecedented, atom-level view of a knowledge worker's daily life. And the central question every company must answer is this: is this a tool for empowerment or a tool for enforcement? In a healthy, high-trust culture, it's empowerment. The AI is your personal analyst, helping you find information faster, connect with the right colleagues, and automate the tedious parts of your job so you can focus on what matters. But in a low-trust, command and control environment, it becomes the ultimate middle manager, a tireless, all-seeing eye that quantifies your every action. It has the potential to become the engine of a new, insidious form of micromanagement. We could see the rise of productivity theater, where employees aren't working to create value, but to perform for the algorithm, writing longer emails just to seem more engaged, scheduling pointless meetings to boost collaboration metrics, stuffing documents with keywords they think the AI will favor. The very tool designed to eliminate soul-crushing busywork could inadvertently create a more sophisticated, more stressful version of it. A world where you have to prove your worth not to your boss, but to an algorithmic overlord that never sleeps. But what if we're looking at this all wrong? What if the fear, the resistance, and the potential for a surveillance dystopia all stem from a fundamental misunderstanding of the tool's purpose? This isn't about replacing human workers. It's about upgrading them. The most successful model for the future of work isn't human versus machine. It's the centaur model, the mythological creature that was half human, half horse. Your wisdom, your experience, your intuition, combined with the AI's speed, data processing power, and memory. The most valuable employee of the next decade won't be the one who knows the most, but the one who can partner with an AI to discover what no one else has even thought to ask. This requires a profound shift in what we consider to be power skills. For a generation, value was in having the answers. Now, value is in asking the right questions. The first new power skill is strategic questioning. A novice asks Copilot, "Summarize our sales from last quarter." That's useful but basic. A center-level professional asks, "Analyze our Q3 sales data, cross-reference it with our top 3 competitors' public earnings calls, and identify the single biggest market opportunity we are currently failing to address." That question, that one single prompt, could be worth millions of dollars. It's not about information retrieval. It's about strategic discovery. The second power skill is contextual synthesis. An AI can give you a perfectly logical, data-driven answer, but it lacks lived experience. It doesn't understand office politics, brand reputation, or the subtle art of human motivation. Imagine a company is considering acquiring a smaller competitor. You can ask Copilot to analyze all the financial statements and market data and conclude whether it's a good deal. The AI might come back and say, "Yes, the financials are strong, and the acquisition would increase market share by 12%. I recommend proceeding." But a human leader, a true contextual synthesizer, takes that data and adds the human layer. They know that the competitor's CEO is notoriously difficult to work with, that their company culture is the polar opposite of their own, and that a forced merger would lead to a mass exodus of top talent. The AI sees the numbers, the human sees the story behind the numbers. The ability to weave those two together is a superpower. The third, and perhaps most important, power skill is ethical oversight. AI operates on logic and efficiency maximization. Humans, hopefully, operate on wisdom and values. Copilot might analyze customer service data and recommend, by replacing 80% of our human support agents with a chatbot, we can reduce overhead by $4.2 million annually with only a 15% predicted drop in customer satisfaction scores. A purely data-driven decision would be to flip the switch. But a human leader with ethical oversight steps in and says, "No." They understand that even a 15% drop in satisfaction could destroy their brand's reputation for quality service. They recognize that there is a moral and social responsibility to their employees and their customers that transcends a line item on a budget. The AI gives you the most efficient path from A to B. It's our job to ask if B is a place we actually want to go. Ultimately, rolling out Copilot Enterprise isn't a software installation. It's a culture transplant. You are, in effect, hiring a new entity, a radically different kind of thinker, and placing it on every single team in your organization. The companies that thrive won't be the ones with the best tech, because everyone will have the same tech. They will be the ones that build a culture of curiosity, of psychological safety where people aren't afraid to ask bold questions, and of intellectual humility where they're willing to be proven wrong by the data. They'll be the ones who train their people not just on how to use the tool, but how to think with the tool. They'll treat the AI not as a judge, but as a sparring partner that makes everyone sharper. So the technology is here. But are we, as people, ready for it? Because the biggest challenge of Copilot Enterprise isn't in the code, it's in our own heads. And that brings us to the most overlooked factor in this entire revolution, the cost. Not the $30 per user per month, but the hidden human cost of adaptation. This cost isn't measured in dollars. It's measured in friction, frustration, and fear. It's the price of rewiring the human brain. For 20 years, we've trained ourselves to work a certain way. We open a blank document and stare at a blinking cursor, a ritual of creation. We meticulously craft emails, agonizing over the perfect turn of phrase. We build slide decks one agonizing bullet point at a time. These aren't just tasks. They're deeply ingrained habits, muscle memory for the modern knowledge worker. Copilot Enterprise doesn't ask us to learn a new keyboard shortcut. It asks us to unlearn everything. It demands that we abandon the comfort of the blank page and instead start with a conversation. It wants us to delegate the first draft, the initial summary, the basic structure, the very things we once saw as the core of our work. This isn't a learning curve. It's a trust fall. And for many, there's no one there to catch them. Think about the psychological barrier. The first time you ask Copilot to draft a sensitive email to a client, your finger hovers over the send button. Every instinct screams, read it again. Read it a third time. Is this my voice? Is it accurate? Did the AI miss the subtle political nuance of this project? In that moment, the AI hasn't saved you time. It's created a new high-stakes task, AI output verification. For a while, this process takes longer and is more stressful than just writing the damn thing yourself. This is the productivity paradox of early AI adoption. The tool designed to save you cognitive load initially doubles it. Then there's the myth of prompt engineering. The entire industry is selling this idea that if you just learn to talk to the AI correctly, you'll unlock God mode productivity. But that's a dangerous oversimplification. The real skill isn't prompt engineering. It's problem decomposition. It's the ability to look at a complex, ambiguous business problem, like figure out why sales are down in the Midwest, and break it down into a series of precise, logical questions that an AI can actually answer. Copilot can't answer why are sales down, but it can, if you ask correctly, analyze the last 6 months of sales data for the Midwest region, correlate it with our marketing spend in the same period, cross-reference it against our top 3 competitors' promotional activities pulled from public filings, and summarize the key anomalies in a table. See the difference? The first is a vague cry for help. The second is a strategic inquiry. The hidden cost is that our education system and corporate training programs have spent decades teaching people how to find answers, not how to ask perfect questions. We are a culture of solution finders, but Copilot demands we become world-class problem definers. This is a senior-level strategic skill, and now we're expecting every employee, from the intern to the VP, to master it overnight. The cost is the massive enterprise-wide training initiative that goes far beyond a simple how-to webinar. It's a fundamental shift in critical thinking. But the most profound cost is organizational. Companies are not fluid, agile entities. They are complex machines built of rigid processes, hierarchies, and deeply entrenched workflows. Copilot isn't a new gear in this machine. It's a completely different type of engine. It's like trying to bolt a fusion reactor onto a steam locomotive. Consider the approval process. A junior analyst spends a week creating a report. Their manager spends a day reviewing and editing it. A director then spends half a day reviewing the manager's edits before it goes to the VP. This chain of command isn't just about quality control. It's about justification of roles. It's the corporate food chain in action. Now that same junior analyst uses Copilot to generate a more comprehensive, data-rich report in 30 minutes. What is the manager's role now? To check the AI's work? To add a human touch? What was once a week-long process of synthesis and refinement becomes a 5-minute task of verification. The entire value proposition of middle management, which has historically been to act as a human information router and synthesizer, is fundamentally threatened. The hidden cost, then, is the political and emotional turmoil of redefining thousands of jobs in real time. It's the cost of re-architecting workflows that have been the bedrock of the company for a generation. It's the uncomfortable conversations where you have to tell a highly paid, experienced manager that their primary function can now be done better and faster by an algorithm. This isn't a software rollout. It's a corporate identity crisis. And this creates a new dangerous divide. It's the gap between the AI adept and the AI averse. In every organization, there will be a group of employees who embrace this. They'll integrate Copilot into every facet of their day. They'll become 10x, maybe 100x more productive. They will seem like wizards capable of generating strategies, reports, and code at inhuman speeds. And right next to them will be colleagues who are hesitant, skeptical, or simply overwhelmed. They'll continue to work the old way, not out of defiance, but out of comfort and habit. Their output, which was once the gold standard, will suddenly look slow, inefficient, and archaic by comparison. This doesn't create a healthy, competitive environment. It creates a two-tiered workforce. It breeds resentment from those who feel left behind and impatience from those who have leaped ahead. The cost is a fractured company culture, a hidden drag on morale that no productivity dashboard can ever measure. Finally, there's the personal human cost of burnout. Not the burnout from overwork, but the burnout from constant, relentless adaptation. There is a cognitive load to constantly deciding, should I do this or should I ask Copilot? If I ask Copilot, how should I phrase the prompt? Now that Copilot gave me an answer, is it right? Do I trust it? How do I verify it? This meta-work, the work about the work, is exhausting. It's a new layer of mental processing that we're not accustomed to, running in the background of our brains all day long. The promise of AI was to free us from drudgery to focus on creative, strategic work. The initial reality for many is that they're just trading one form of drudgery for another. The drudgery of managing and validating a brilliant, but occasionally unreliable silicon intern. So when we talk about the cost of Copilot Enterprise, the $30 per user per month is almost laughably irrelevant. It's a rounding error. The true investment is the cost of managing the fear and skepticism of your workforce. It's the cost of a multi-year, top-to-bottom retraining program focused on critical thinking, not just button clicking. It's the cost of redesigning your core business processes and, in some cases, flattening your entire organizational structure. It's the cost of navigating the cultural schism between the early adopters and the laggards. Microsoft is selling a license for a piece of software, but what you're actually buying is a ticket to the most challenging and expensive change management program your company will ever endure. So the $30 question isn't, can we afford Copilot? It's, are we prepared to pay the price of true transformation? Because make no mistake, that is the bill that will eventually come due. And this bill has line items you won't find on any Microsoft invoice. These are the hidden costs, the true price of admission to the AI-powered future. And they are measured not in dollars, but in organizational pain, strategic upheaval, and sheer unadulterated effort. The first, and arguably the most crippling, is your company's data debt. We've all heard the phrase garbage in, garbage out. With enterprise AI, this isn't a clever saying. It's an iron law of physics. Copilot Enterprise is a ravenous intelligence that needs to feed on your organization's collective knowledge. Your documents, your emails, your chats, your spreadsheets, your entire digital history. But what happens when that knowledge is a complete and utter mess? Imagine trying to build a gleaming, state-of-the-art skyscraper on top of a toxic, unstable swamp. That is what most companies are attempting to do right now. For decades, we've allowed our data to fester in disconnected silos. We have SharePoint sites that are digital graveyards, Teams channels that are chaotic free-for-alls, and OneDrive folders with permission structure so convoluted, not even the people who created them understand who has access to what. Copilot can't fix this for you. In fact, it will amplify the chaos. If your sales data contradicts your marketing data, Copilot will confidently present you with elegant, well-written contradictions. If sensitive HR information is accessible to the entire company because of lazy permissions, Copilot, in its eagerness to be helpful, might just serve it up to the wrong person in a meeting summary. So, before you even think about deploying licenses, you have to pay down this data debt. This means a massive, painstaking, and brutally expensive data governance and cleanup project. It means defining what data is valuable, what is trivial, and what is toxic. It means untangling a decade's worth of permission spaghetti. It means creating a single source of truth. This isn't a fun IT project. It's corporate archaeology, and it's the non-negotiable first step. Most companies will spend more time, money, and political capital on this than they will on the AI itself. But even if your data is pristine, you hit the second line item on the bill. The skills gap tsunami. The belief that you can just hand Copilot to your employees and watch productivity magically triple is a dangerous fantasy. Using this tool effectively is a new, complex skill. It's not about asking simple questions. It's about the art of the prompt. It's about knowing how to frame a problem, how to provide the right context, how to chain commands together to orchestrate complex tasks. It's about learning to think with an AI partner. And even more critically, It's about developing the skill of AI-assisted critical thinking, the ability to look at an AI-generated output, a market analysis, a legal clause, a piece of code, and know when to trust it, when to question it, and when to discard it entirely. This is not intuitive. We are trained to see a well-written sentence as a sign of authority and correctness. But Copilot can be confidently, authoritatively, and beautifully wrong. Your workforce needs to be retrained, from the summer intern to the C-suite, to become savvy consumers and editors of AI-generated content. This isn't a one-hour webinar. This is a fundamental upskilling of your entire organization, a continuous process of learning and adaptation. You're not just buying software. You're committing to becoming a company of prompt engineers, AI verifiers, and digital collaborators, which leads directly to the third, and perhaps most disruptive, cost: the complete annihilation of your existing workflows. For 100 years, business has run on linear processes. Step A leads to Step B, which leads to Step C. It's the assembly line model applied to knowledge work. A request comes in, it's assigned, it's worked on, it's reviewed, it's approved. Copilot doesn't fit into that model. Copilot is the model. It enables a completely different way of working: iterative, exploratory, and instantaneous. Why follow a 10-step process to create a marketing proposal when you can have Copilot draft the entire thing in 30 seconds, using data from the last 5 successful campaigns? Why spend a week gathering data for a quarterly report when you can ask Copilot to summarize the key trends from Teams, Outlook, and Excel in the time it takes to get a cup of coffee? The old processes aren't just inefficient, they become absurd. But these processes are the bedrock of how your company functions. They are embedded in your culture, your management structures, and your software. Ripping them out and replacing them means re-engineering the very engine of your business while it's running. It requires managers to stop measuring activity and start measuring outcomes. It demands a level of trust and autonomy that makes traditional command and control leaders deeply uncomfortable. This isn't a software update. It's a process revolution. And as you're fighting these battles on data, skills, and process, you have to navigate the fourth hidden cost: the security and compliance labyrinth. Microsoft has built an impressive fortress around Copilot Enterprise. Your data, your prompts, your outputs, they stay within your Microsoft 365 tenant. The large language models don't train on your corporate secrets. This is a huge step. But the fortress has countless doors, and you are still the one holding the keys. The fundamental challenge of data loss prevention doesn't go away. It gets supercharged. An employee could inadvertently ask Copilot to summarize a confidential merger document, and then paste that summary into an email to an external vendor. The tool was just being helpful. The human made the mistake. You need a new generation of security protocols designed for the age of generative AI. You need to define what data is appropriate for Copilot to access, what topics are off-limits, and how you monitor for misuse. How do you ensure compliance with regulations like GDPR or HIPAA when an AI can synthesize and present protected information in novel ways? The answer is that the technology is only half the solution. The other half is a rigorous, constantly evolving governance framework. It's a new, complex, and permanent cost of doing business in the AI era. Finally, there's the most human cost of all: overcoming the wall of resistance. For every employee excited by this technology, there are 5 who are terrified. They don't see an assistant. They see a replacement. They see decades of experience and hard-won expertise being rendered obsolete by an algorithm. This fear is real, and it is powerful. If you roll this out as just another top-down tech mandate, it will fail. People will find ways to not use it. They will stick to their old, comfortable workflows. They will quietly sabotage the initiative, not out of malice, but out of self-preservation. Winning the hearts and minds of your people is the most critical part of this transformation. It requires transparent communication, a focus on augmentation over automation, and a clear vision for how this technology makes their jobs better, more creative, and more valuable, not redundant. This is change management on an unprecedented scale. So when you look at the $30 monthly fee, understand that it's just the tip of the spear. The real investment is in cleaning your data swamp, res-killing your entire workforce, re-architecting your core business processes, navigating a new security labyrinth, and leading your people through a period of profound, uncomfortable change. The companies that see Copilot as a simple software purchase are destined to fail. They will waste millions and be left with nothing but a slightly more efficient way of doing the wrong things. The companies that understand this is a catalyst for total business transformation, however, are the ones who will not just survive the coming decade. They are the ones who will define it. So we've seen the promise, and now we've stared into the abyss of the challenges. The cost of failure is extinction. The reward for success is market domination. The question that remains is, how do you build the bridge from one side to the other? How do you actually do this starting tomorrow morning? That is the final and most important piece of the puzzle. The bridge from today's workflow to a truly AI-powered future isn't a prefabricated, drop-in-place solution. It's a structure you have to build plank by plank with intention and strategy. And the foundation, the very first concrete piling you must pour, has nothing to do with the AI itself. It has everything to do with your data. Think of it like this. Copilot is a brilliant, tireless librarian. You can ask it to find anything, synthesize anything, create anything based on the information in its library. But if your library is a chaotic mess, with books on the floor, pages torn out, and confidential documents mixed in with public flyers, the librarian can't do its job effectively. Worse, it might hand you the wrong information, or even give a sensitive document to the wrong person. This is the concept of data hygiene, and it is the single most important prerequisite for success with Copilot Enterprise. Garbage in, garbage out. It's the oldest rule in computing, and it's never been more true. Your first step starting tomorrow is to get your house in order. This means using tools like Microsoft Purview to implement a robust information protection and governance strategy. You need to know where your data lives, who has access to it, and how sensitive it is. This is about applying labels, public, internal, confidential, highly confidential, to your documents, your emails, your team's chats. It's about setting up permissions that actually reflect your organizational chart and security policies. This isn't the glamorous part of the AI revolution. It's the plumbing. It's the foundation. But without it, your entire AI structure is built on sand, ready to collapse into a nightmare of security breaches and irrelevant, untrustworthy outputs. Getting your data right isn't just a best practice. It's the only practice that matters at the start. It ensures that when an employee asks Copilot to summarize the latest sales strategy, it pulls from the official PowerPoint, not from a random, outdated draft someone saved to their desktop 3 years ago. Once your foundation is solid, you don't build the entire bridge at once. You build a test section. This is your pilot program. You don't roll out Copilot Enterprise to 10,000 employees on day one. You hand it to a carefully selected group of 50 to 100 people, your vanguard. This group is critical. They shouldn't just be your most tech-savvy employees. They need to be a cross-section of your entire organization. You need people from sales, marketing, finance, legal, engineering, and HR. You need the skeptics alongside the enthusiasts. Their mission is not just to test the software. Their mission is to be explorers. They are mapping the new territory of work. Their job is to discover the specific, high-value use cases for your business. Does it slash the time your sales team spends writing follow-up emails by 70%? Does it allow your marketing team to generate 3 times the campaign ideas in the same amount of time? Can your engineers use it to debug code faster? Or can your HR team use it to draft better job descriptions that attract top talent? The pilot program is your laboratory. You need to obsessively track the results, not just with surveys asking, "Do you like it?" but with hard metrics. Time studies, project completion rates, output quality, employee sentiment. You need to build a data-backed business case, proving that the $30 per user per month investment doesn't just pay for itself. It generates an exponential return. These early wins, these specific, quantifiable stories, become the fuel for the rest of the journey. The discoveries made by your vanguard lead directly to the third and most crucial step in building your bridge: creating the playbook. The single biggest mistake companies will make is giving employees this incredibly powerful tool with a vague instruction to be more productive. That's like giving someone a Formula One car and just telling them to drive fast. It doesn't work. The playbook is your company's custom-made driver's manual for high-performance work. This document, built from the real-world successes of your pilot program, is the key to scaling. It's not a generic user guide. It's a strategic asset. It contains specific prompting frameworks for common tasks in your company. For example, to generate a first draft of a client proposal for the manufacturing sector, use this prompt structure. It includes a library of best-in-class prompts shared by your top performers. It outlines the do's and don'ts, like, do use Copilot to summarize long internal meetings you missed, but don't use Copilot to handle personally identifiable customer information without verifying data sources. The playbook turns the abstract potential of AI into a concrete, repeatable process. It demystifies the tool and gives every single employee a clear starting point, transforming a blank page problem into a guided, productive experience from day one. With the foundation laid, the pilot run, and the playbook written, the final step is the most human. It's about culture. This is not a software rollout. It is a fundamental behavioral change. You are rewiring the workflow of your entire organization. This requires a deliberate and sustained cultural initiative. You need to treat learning to work with an AI partner as a core professional skill, just like learning to type or use a spreadsheet was for previous generations. This means continuous training, not just a one-hour webinar. It means creating internal communities of practice, a Teams channel called Copilot Wins, where people share their successes and coolest prompts. It means gamification, rewarding the most innovative uses of the tool. And most importantly, it requires leadership to model the behavior. When a CEO starts a meeting by saying, "I use Copilot to analyze the last 3 board reports and here are the 3 key themes it identified," that sends a more powerful message than 1,000 memos. You are fostering a culture of curiosity, experimentation, and partnership with technology. You're teaching your people not just how to use a tool, but how to think alongside an AI. So, is Microsoft Copilot Enterprise the future of productivity? The answer is yes, but with a critical caveat. The technology itself is just a catalyst. It doesn't guarantee success. Success is not bought with a software license. It's earned through deliberate strategy. It's earned through the unglamorous work of data governance, the focused exploration of a pilot program, the thoughtful creation of a playbook, and the patient cultivation of a new culture. The companies that do this right won't just be doing the same work faster. They will be unlocking a new capacity for creativity and strategic thought that was previously buried under the weight of cognitive debt. They will free up their brightest minds from the drudgery of information retrieval and synthesis, and aim them squarely at the biggest challenges and opportunities in their market. The productivity gains are just the entry fee. The real prize is the innovation, the agility, and the competitive separation that comes from being the first to truly master the art of human-AI collaboration. The future of work isn't about humans versus AI. It's about the businesses with AI-augmented humans versus those without. The bridge is being built, one prompt at a time. The only question left is, will you be an architect, or will you be a spectator?